Hello and welcome to today's NinjaTrader ecosystem event, 5D Wyckoff order flow with Mike Sokolik of MboxWave. My name is Thomas and I'm a platform representative here at NinjaTrader. Now, before we start the webinar, I do have a few housekeeping notes. Now, this webinar is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be directed to the NinjaTrader brokerage team. And if you are new to NinjaTrader, please make sure you sign up for a free NinjaTrader demo with real-time market data. Our platform is always free for advanced charting, strategy back testing, and trade simulation. And before I turn over the mic to Mike, it is important to understand that futures, foreign currency, and options trading contain substantial risk and is not suitable for every investor. It is possible to lose all or more than one's initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And also, please remember that these training sessions are not solicitation or recommendation, but simply educational in nature. Now, thank you again for joining us today. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room, Mike of MboxWave. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here, very excited about today's webinar. We've got, looks like, a great list of attendees. Today, I'm going to be presenting the MboxWave 3.0, which is titled 5D Order Flow. I've been doing a lot of work on MboxWave behind the scenes. Besides trading, I'm constantly trying to research and develop enhanced ways to analyze the markets, and that is reflected in the latest MboxWave release. So I'm going to be talking about that today. And what I really like to say about it is that it's the evolution of supply and demand. That is one of my goals that I do, is to advance the Wyckoff and order flow methodology. So I'm gonna jump into it. I'm featuring XSpace Control in this webinar with the MBox Precision Delta, which are some of the latest features. I'm introducing 5D order flow. I'm not sure if this slide wasn't seen, so I just wanted to make sure that I underlined that. Okay, let's move on. So before I get into everything, I just want to mention that there's going to be a special discount offer at the end of this webinar. So if you want to take advantage of that, stick around. The 5D order flow, what it really is to give a complete picture of the order flow so that you can see the different perspectives of what the market is doing. That is the goal. And once that picture is painted, you can make wiser and better trading decisions. So like I said, some of the new features are XSpace Control and the MBox Precision Delta. I'm also going to cover the signals, which I covered in previous webinars. I'm going to talk about application and stocks. And I'm also going to talk about using the Renko charts, because that seems to be a popular topic. Also, I'll go over the education and the Discord room, the MboxWave Discord room. All right, so the problem with most order flow software, I want to start with this, because there's a lot of order flow software out there and a lot of people don't know exactly, how to choose or what's the difference between them. So these are the 4 points that I wanted to make about it. Is that first, everyone that is trading order flow is already using the regular native delta volume. So the delta volume splits the ask and bid volume, which typically shows supply and demand. Markets have already caught on to this, and I'll show this in the next slide. And because of that, you get bad analysis due to extreme market manipulation. You can get untradeable charts, and it's 99% of the market's job to fool the other people. So if everybody is already using the same order flow software, it can't keep working for everybody just as well, for all time. So let's go on to the next slide. So here's a RTY of the E-mini Russell 2000 chart using native delta volume. Okay, in this example, these are the MboxWave indicators, and we get a very ugly chart in this picture, right? So the price is moving up. It looks like there's a lot of selling here in the cumulative delta. The MBox histogram is also very choppy and kind of shows a selling bias. Price is going up, yet we have these minuses here, which normally I call them sell imbalances, which signals that there's more selling than buying on an up wave, and you would expect price often to come down, but here it's going up. So this is what I was talking about, the native delta volume and the markets having caught on to this. I mean, I used native delta volume for years and it does work, but for some markets and charts, it just not, it gives kind of a picture that is untradeable, right? So those are the 3 points I have here. And the only solution to this would be to avoid trading the RTY. So this isn't unique to MboxWave. This is, you would see this sort of selling bias despite price rising on any, software, order flow software that you load these days. So what is the solution? The solution is MBox Precision Delta. So this is a Delta algorithm that I've been working on for a little over 3 years. I noticed this issue years ago, and it always fascinated me if there was a way to improve the algorithm that splits the volume, the buy volume and the sell volume. It's a highly sophisticated and complex algorithm that essentially it recreates the tape, it recreates the flow of supply and demand and the buying and selling to reflect what is actually happening in the market. So that's important to give you a better picture of the analysis. And this solves the market manipulation issues in untradeable charts. So all the charts become significantly easier to analyze and trade and read the order flow. 99.999% of the traders don't use MBox Precision Delta, so it's harder for the markets to catch on. So let me show you what I mean. This is the same RTY chart using MBox Precision Delta. I say that it is simple and beautiful because we're looking at it, it becomes a very tradable chart. Analysis shows overall demand and buying while price is rising, which is very logical. There's no need to avoid trading this chart, right? So as you can see, even the cumulative delta, we're seeing we got a lot of buying, and in the end, when price starts to chop here, we see that the buying subsides. So it gives us a pretty nice reading here that the move is exhausted. Same thing in the MBox histogram. We see that the buying is exhausted, and also we got rid of all those minuses here. That would indicate sell imbalances, which were not accurate at all. In fact, with the Precision Delta, we get a buy imbalance of plus 33 here, which means there's more buying than selling on this down wave. And then, the price goes up after that. So this is what MBox Precision Delta is all about. This is what I use strictly today. I don't use the native Delta at all anymore. I use my own Precision Delta for all charts. And it has made my trading even better. I trade now better than I have before. Okay, so now I'm going to make a bold claim. I have concretely defined what order flow is and how to read it. This is what every trader has been dreaming of and what Wyckoff would have done if alive today. So I do not say this lightly because this has taken me many, 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 many years to get to this point. And what do I mean by defining order flow? I have defined it into 5D perspective. That's why I'm calling it 5D order flow, because MboxWave becomes and has become a 5D order flow picture of the markets. It's a term that I'm coining, right? Because there's actually 5 points of the structure that the indicators provide. With the MBox Precision Delta, the 3 points, the first is supply and demand is a product. Okay, so I'm pretty sure, I believe I'm the first one to say this. Buying and selling, point number 2, shows transaction of that product. It shows transaction of the supply or demand. So in other words, demand needs to be bought, supply needs to be sold. That means there's interest in that product. In the following slides, I'll show this visually if that doesn't make sense yet. Number 3, accumulation distribution shows overall buying and selling activity in an asset. So you kind of get the bias of what's going on, who's in control. buyers or sellers in terms of activity. And then we've got the X pace, X control. X pace will show the speed of the bids and the offers, and X control will show the control of the bids and the offers, resulting in a 5D order flow picture. So I want to talk about the 5D order flow structure. So here I loaded a chart with the MboxWave indicators here. Starting with point number 1, we've got the zigzag line, that's the MGAN swing. So the numbers on this chart, they use MBox Precision Delta and that algorithm, and these numbers on the chart, they represent supply and demand, right? So if it goes up like 375, that's demand, you know, this minus 380, that's supply. I'll get into it more later. MBox histogram shows buying and selling. So this is the buying and selling of the product. 3, cumulative delta shows accumulation distribution, overall buying and selling. 4, X-Pace shows the speed of the bids and the speed of the offers. So I'm going to talk about this is important because if you have great speed of, you know, offers or bids, but a lack of, you know, buying or demand, you know, that would be a divergence. And number 5, we have X control. The red dots are bid control and the green dots are offer control. That are these dots. So this is a brand new indicator, you know, just was released a couple months ago. All right, so I'm going to get into the details. So before I do that, I want to touch a little bit more about X control because this is a very, very powerful indicator. Okay, it is a visual representation of the tape. So there are 3 sizes of dots. You have the small dots, the medium dots, and the large dots. Small dots represent initial control, medium dot is strong control, and big dots are total control. So the most interesting dots are obviously the big dots. They usually show the direction market is likely to go visually. As we can see on this chart, we've got these big red dots, prices going down. Then we get these green, prices going up. Then we get these big red dots here, prices going down. And the first thing somebody will say, well, what about these red dots here? Red, you know, red here, and price didn't go down. Well, see, that's the thing. This is one of the dimensions, one of the perspectives of the 5D order flow. So this is a very powerful indicator, but it's part of the MboxWave package, which you would look at the other indicators. So for example, when you see these big red dots, you would look at the order flow. How is the supply here? How is the selling, right? And in the next slide, we'll see that actually the selling dries up here. So that would be a divergence that the bids are in control, but there's no selling, and then price reverses. Okay, so I want to throw this out here, and I thought this was kind of analogy that I like, that trading is like marriage. You can't have a successful marriage unless you commit to it. At the same time, it's very difficult to be successful in trading until you commit to a certain methodology, theory, or trading system, because a lot of people, you know, they could be jumping around from system to system and not, you know, not having good results. And it's because, you know, human nature, we're always in the constant search for something, but in the end, to be successful, you need to commit to it, right? So I just wanted to throw it out there because trading is difficult and there needs to be commitment to a certain methodology to be successful. I like that comment. Trading has 3 rings of suffer. 3 rings. Yeah, I've heard of that before. That's quite funny in the chat box. Okay, so trading like marriage requires structure, order, and rules. Okay, so I talked about the structure, right? That was the this slide. Okay, so now I want to talk about the order. The order is the analysis. Okay, this is the order of the supply and demand, buying and selling. So I want to go through this. I'll try to go through this quickly because there's a lot on this chart and I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed, but I want to explain a little bit how this reading works. And all these indicators are using the MBox Precision Delta algorithm here. Okay, so on the left-hand part of the chart, we see a big number, minus 380. I define that as supply. Supply is a big number and a lower low, okay? At the same time, we see that selling is expanding in the MBox histogram. It's also expanding in the M cumulative delta, although I didn't draw an arrow here. And the X pace, has a spike here for the bids. We get a sell imbalance, which means there's more selling than buying while price is moving up. So that's a sell imbalance. Price is going down here. Again, we have a minus 153. We have supply because it's expanding. We're going to minus 104, minus 27, minus 53. It's expanding, although it is less than the 380, right? So that's an important nuance, all right? So this MBox Precision Delta makes it readable and understandable, these kinds of moves. We have 380, 153. So it's supply, but supply has slowed down. At the time that supply is slowing down, what happens? The selling, look at this right here, selling, contracting, no transactional interest. Nobody is interested in acquiring the supply, right? That's a divergence, right? Then we get buying is expanding. We get a large number on the up move, plus 375. That's demand, a large number, higher high, demand. Then we're getting this minus 158, right? Is it a supply? This is a question mark. The reason I'm going over this is because I'm trying to teach people how to read these charts, and especially with MBox Precision Delta, it makes it a lot easier to do so. Is this supply? Well, we don't know. It could be distribution, could be supply. We put a question mark. We don't need to figure it out. Somebody's asking, why don't we compare to the 104? That's a good question. So I skipped over that. The 104 ends up being ease of movement, right? So price came down strong and didn't require much work, right? And at the time it occurs, like right when it occurs, you cannot conclude that right away. You would conclude that after you see the sell imbalance, right? And then you see this 32, which is weak demand, and it coming back down, you can conclude this was ease of movement and, take a few points here, but when you see the selling contract, you wouldn't want to stay in that position. These numbers are not pure delta in the chat box, okay? The numbers on the chart represent supply and demand. All right, that's what MBox Precision Delta Algorithm is. It's not a pure delta number. It represents something delta-ish, but its intent is to show you supply and demand as a product. All right, so moving on. We got the 98. Is this accumulation or effort result? Good question. We don't know. I mean, it is higher than the 52. It didn't make a higher high. Could be accumulation, could be effort result. Now this is where we get interesting. Minus 104. I labeled this as an imbalance. And I want to show here that I'm not showing any of the algorithms or the buy-sell signals because this is strictly educational for how to read the charts. And the signals will help with the entries. We'll get into that later. So this is really a price order flow imbalance. I got to come up with an acronym for it. Maybe POI, price order flow imbalance, because you have a lower low and there's less supply, right? At the same time of this lower low, you have less supply and selling is exhausted. So as soon as price is going up, especially once it takes out this pivot here, and we see demand come in, large number, higher high, buy imbalance, more buying than selling on this down move, this would be a great entry right here. At this point, you can conclude this was, an effort. This wasn't real supply. You can conclude this was accumulation, okay? And this was all exhausted. So that's the important thing. So you can mark up the charts while you're trading and put a question mark if you're not sure, and then watch a little bit more to see what happens. If I can't answer all the questions in the chat, please email me. I'll try to get to them, but I just have a lot of material here. All right, as we're going up, we've got demand 158, 410, no supply at the minus 29. Okay, because we got these large numbers. Now we get to the top, what do we get? This is also price order flow imbalance because it's a 336, which is less than 410, yet we made a higher high. That's okay. It doesn't mean price is necessarily going to reverse. But you would begin to watch what's happening with these other things. Okay, for example, the cumulative delta, right? We have a higher high, less demand, but more buying. It's a little subtle here, but there's overall more buying. So there's more buying, less demand product. That is overbought. I can concretely define what it means to be overbought and oversold with these tools now, with the precision delta. Shortly after that, we see buying contracts. Okay, and we get a no demand here. 22, we get supply minus 363. 149, that seems like a large number compared to the previous swings. Is this effort no result? Look at the histogram here. There's no buying, no buying. So this can be concluded to be effort no result. I call this hidden supply because, you know, you got minus 58, minus 90, minus 56. It amounts to over minus 200, you know. And relatively, we get small demand compared to this 149. And again, no buying. So that's a divergence, a demand and demand product and no buying divergence. We see that the selling expands with the cumulative delta and down the move goes. One guy asked, so at the 410, the indicators are not lagging. They draw in real time. Shows us what the demand was, but the run was over. At 410, the run was not over. The run was over at 336, at which point we had this divergence of less demand, more buying, overbought. Somebody's asking, how much RAM do you need? Can it run on a VPS? You know, NinjaTrader's got a site with recommended specifications. I always refer people to that page. If you can't find it, email me, I'll send it to you. All right, so that was the order of the supply and demand. Now I'm going to talk about order of the tape. Get to these dots here. We start for the left. We've seen these big red dots. We got the total bid control. The offer control comes in, continues here, bid control here. Remember I talked about these dots in the middle and price did not resume. Well, remember we saw that here the selling was exhausted. So that's a very nice divergence. We get control, total control of the bids here, and selling is exhausted, right? Very nice. Here we see also here bids control, offers. So this is a graphical representation of the tape X pace, right? Where you see that it's blank doesn't mean that there was no pace. It just, with the X pace, what I did is a lot of filtering. It filters out just insignificant pace, right? So it allows you to see who's in control graphically a bit easier. So here the offers are in control, and then here the bids get in control. Here we see offers spike up, bids. Okay, so let's move on. MBox histogram is not volume. I already said in the previous slide, it represents buying and selling. It's not pure volume. MBox Precision Delta is a complex algorithm that uses different factors to define the 5D order flow structure that I'm talking about. All right, let's get to the rules. Like I said, trading like marriage requires order, structure, order, and rules. Now we're getting to the rules. Okay. The rules cheat sheet. Okay, I'm being asked a question. My plan to intend to sell the software and algorithms to institutional players. I only sell to retail. Okay, rules cheat sheet. What do you want to consider before getting into a trade, right? This is because people ask me a lot, you know, what should we look for? So when you're considering a trade, try to see if you can get one of, you know, get how many checkpoints can you, you know, check off here, you know, consider supply, demand, no supply, no demand, buying and selling, no buying, no selling, supply, but no selling, demand, but no buying. These are the things that are talking about. We had demand, but no buying. The other case, we had less demand and too much buying, overbought. Climactic buying, selling, accumulation, distribution, buy imbalance, sell imbalance, order flow imbalance. That was the price order flow imbalance I was talking about, right? It was a lower low, less supply. That's the order flow imbalance. Effort, no result, ease of movement, exhaustion, contractions, speed of bids, offers. These are the things to think about, you know, when you're looking at the chart using the MboxWave indicators, right? That's the analysis. Now, the rules for entry come down to control of the bids and the offers. So since X control came out, that's an additional way to define your entries. On top of the algorithmic buy and sell signals, the pullback, stooges, springs, up thrust that were there before. And with the precision delta algorithm, these algorithmic buy and sell signals have become even better, showing better entries. So real quick, I'm going to go over this, that there are different types of entries. You can be aggressive. That's where you have minimal evidence, typical reversals, tops and bottoms. Moderate, you have stronger analysis, good balance of risk reward. Conservative, overwhelming evidence, and very biased analysis. Same chart. So these are rule-based entries. So at the left, we have that up thrust. That's before we see the supply. That would be considered aggressive. When you see this total control of the bid, it becomes a little less aggressive, okay? Now we get this signal. We have a double algo. We have a supply. This is a solid entry because it's moderate. We've already seen the supply. We've got a double algo here. We're seeing some selling expand, okay? Then conservative here. Why is it conservative? Because it's overwhelming evidence. Now you've seen even more selling, seen the sell imbalance, more another signal, right? You've seen more in the cumulative delta selling. You've had the huge spike in the pace of the bids. That's why it's conservative. Overwhelming evidence, okay? We come down here, right? We had the supply, but it's contracting compared to the minus 380. Now we're going the other way. This is the aggressive entry. We have a big green dot. So that's the first big green dot since the move went down. And that would be the aggressive. Why? Because it's before we see the demand. By the time we get to moderate, we've seen the demand. We've seen buying here. We've seen accumulation. And we have an algorithmic buy-sell signal. We also see that we had control of the bids, but selling exhausted. So that's actually a pretty excellent entry. I mean, I wrote here moderate, but it's closer to even being conservative, I would say, just due to all that stacking up, And then by the time we get here, it's just overwhelming. This is conservative because we have yet more demand. So we had demand at 375, demand at 158, more control of the offers. We have a triple algo here, buy and balance stooges and a pullback. Buying expands, overall buying in the cumulative delta, offers outpacing the bids in X pace. And so this was the conservative entry. Then going to the downside, aggressive at the up thrust. Why? Because it's before we've seen the supply. Moderate is at these signals after we saw the supply, right? And the conservative being here because it's just, we get another total control of the bids. We've had this distribution selling expanding, bids outpacing. It's just, it gets more and more biased. So the only thing to look out for is if you've got, too much evidence and a move has already happened, perhaps it could reverse. But I wanted to point this out because people have different trading styles, and it's important because we're not all going to trade the same, right? For example, I'm more of a moderate / conservative, or between moderate and conservative sort of trader. Although there are successful traders that, with proper risk management, do aggressive sort of entries, and that's just fine. It's all about your risk management and how you want to trade. Okay, Renko. I wanted to cover Renko because a lot of people ask about Renko. I don't personally use it, but there are quite a few Renko traders using like Unirenko or NinjaTrader with MboxWave. It works very well on those kind of Renko charts. So let's look at a Renko example. All right, this is a Renko example on the NASDAQ. Using the updated MboxWave Precision Delta on all of the indicators. I'm being asked, does the software work on tick charts? Yes, it does. I don't have a tick chart example in this webinar, but it does. So here again, we getting the aggressive entry at the up thrust. And then we're seeing that supply comes in. We got the big numbers. That's moderate. We're getting the supply come in. We're getting the selling. Okay. Conservative entries. Now we got, more evidence, these algorithmic sell signals. Okay. And as we're coming down, look at this, these numbers, 255, 144, 287, 148, minus 196. So it's getting weaker. At the same time, look at that. The selling is slowing down. Doesn't necessarily mean to go long yet, but you got to notice these things, right? We see contraction in the cumulative delta as well. First sign of buyers comes here with the buying, and then initial demand breaks the downward movement, the 276. That's why I like to label initial. And in a lot of the live trade videos, I label initial buying, initial selling, to see what happens next. Then we come back down and look at this. We got all these red dots, lot. So the bids are in control, right? The pace of the bids are in control. But there's a supply exhaustion. We're going to this minus 91, minus 71, 37, bam. I mean, it evaporated. Supply evaporated, selling evaporated, exhausted in the cumulative delta, begin to cross over, okay? This is our aggressive entry here with all these buy signals, right? Now we're getting control of the offers with the big dots. Plus 433, we see wave demand, okay? And we get a moderate entry here because we're just seeing more and more evidence, and conservative here, because now we're overwhelmingly have buying, demand, and control of the offers. And, these are just add-ons you could do. And it goes all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. And then guess what? You have a bid control here, big dot. Buying contracts. Okay, so at this price point, we attract some supply and selling. All right. And what happens here? 513, that looks pretty strong compared to the 307, right? So the 307 already shows a slowdown after the 532, but it picks up again. So 513 shows demand, but are the buyers interested? Look here, the buying, they're not as interested, right? Look at this. Look at the 513, 532. Those are similar waves and similar numbers. So this is what I mean by demand is a product. So that is similar. 532, 532, 513 similar. But look at the buying. Buying at the 532, buying at the 513 is half. So you have too much demand, too much product, not enough interest, not enough transactions. And here in the cumulative delta, we have a small commitment of buyers. We see that the bids begin to pick up. I have a question on the top of the chart. It says 513 shows demands by, are the buyers interested? It means that we've got this much demand product, right? So the waves show supply and demand product. 513 is a product. 532 is a product. So with this much product, how much interest is there? How much buying? This is the interest in the product when there's 532 product. This is the interest. This is the interest here when there's 513 product. It's a lot less interest. That's what I mean. And if you still doesn't make sense, you can email me. All right, we need to move on and get the rest of the material covered here. What about stocks? I get asked about this a lot. Again, I do dabble in stocks and options trading. Last year, I covered how I traded Intel options. It's not majority of what I do, but I do get asked this quite frequently. Does MboxWave work with stocks? It does. I use it, just not as much as day trading, but there are quite a few also stock traders. So all the concepts of, MboxWave and Wyckoff and the 5D order flow, they apply across all markets and timeframes and instruments, right? So equities, stocks, forex, futures, markets are always constantly under the forces of supply, demand, buying, selling, accumulation, distribution, and speed of the tape. I mean, these are things that are just happening in every single market, every single instrument, every single time frame, because that is what moves the markets, right? Right? That 5D order flow that I defined, that is what moves the markets. Okay, so I wanted to go over an Apple example. Right? How does it look, say, on a day trading Apple example? I have swing trading and daily stock examples in the previous webinar, and I have another webinar if you want to see on a higher time frame. But this screen, I was showing a 1 minute Apple, right? I mean, we see from starting on the left of the chart, we're seeing that we got buyers come in, buying, expanding cumulative delta, offers, and control. we're getting these big green dots, right? So at this red dot, see what's interesting, we had this red dot right here, big. So we have total control of the bids, but where's the selling? We have overall more buying, right? Look at the cumulative delta. That should keep you out of that trade. That's a divergence. That's a good signal right there. That's a divergence, right? So that makes it look climactic. We get a buying balance here, plus 11. We get a double algo right here. Buyers are entering. Wave demand 148, 318. Beautiful. Triple algo here, plus 50. Buying balance, Stooges pullback. More buying balances at the 3 and the 12. All right. And here you see no sellers, just no sellers in the MBox histogram, no selling in the cumulative delta. We see offers and control in the X space. So as we approach higher highs, what do we see? Right, the overall picture, look at the cumulative delta. The overall amount of the buying is decreasing. Higher highs, but buying is contracting. We see it here. The MBox histogram, same thing. Higher high, less buyers, exhausted buyers eventually. Sellers are not fully committed yet. You see, it's just not that strong here. We still have green, big green dots. Then we get an interesting thing here. We got a 214, 200, 132 on the demand. We have still some buying, some demand, I mean, here. But what's happening to the buying? The buying is exhausting right here. Exhausting here, exhausting here. Supply comes in at the 429, total control of the bids. And look at this. I mean, in this chart, it just worked out beautifully. This is the first big red dot since the up move happened. The last one was here. The next one is here. That is how good X control is. It's a very complicated, sophisticated algorithm that took me a long time to develop, right? But there it's showing you right here. Combining with the supply and this, you see that there's a change in behavior. And we got a strong pace of the bids here too, right? So this is a good example that, yes, you know, the same concepts work in stocks, you know, as well. Question. So when your X control green dots start getting smaller, is that a divergence? It's a divergence when, say, there's a big green dot and a lack of demand or a lack of buying. You know, that would be the divergence. Or if the dots are getting smaller up here, right? We're not getting the big green dot, they're getting smaller. You know, we're running out of steam. Getting smaller combined with the buyers exhausted and less demand, running out of steam. That's what it means. Okay, so I want to talk about the community. The MboxWave community has grown substantially in the last couple of years. This year, we transitioned to the Discord room. Before it was Telegram, it's become a lot better in the Discord room, more organized. And we got different channels, and I'm going to show what that is. So basically, the MboxWave Discord trading room is available to all grandfather package users. It brings the community traders together. People chat, discuss analysis, share screenshots, gain experience. It's an additional resource that you can learn from. You can be active, ask questions, interact with other traders. And I want to show you how it looks like. But first, a little bit more information. So if you want to read exactly what the room is all about, because I get emails, what is the room all about? What is included? What do you get? Go to MboxWave.com, click on the purchase tab, then click find out about the MboxWave trading room, and you'll get a page like this. This will tell you, and it scrolls down more, but this is just a screenshot I did for the slide. You can read all about it, okay? But essentially, it's a way to bring the MboxWave community together. So, you know, this is what it looks like, right? We got a bunch of channels here on the left, announcements. You know, if you're in there, you get the latest news, right? You get it right away instead of waiting for, you know, an email or Twitter or whatever. And also I get to chime in time to time. So we got the MboxWave traders room. That's the main room, you know, people writing things. This guy is talking about analysis on the RTY. This guy's talking about, you know, this breakdown with the control. We got a scalpers channel, market news channel, stocks, forex, crypto. We got, you know, popular instruments channels. I added these by request, you know, if people are focusing on certain instruments. Then we've got a platform support, NinjaTrader. There's a Bloodhound channel because some people use Bloodhound with NinjaTrader, so you can talk to other traders using Bloodhound and get some support for that. These are just the kind of conversations that go on in the Discord room. This guy says he did a short, took 9 points. This guy says he took exactly the same trade. So this is good. When people are taking the same trades, that's good, because they're reading the market in a way that is makes sense. This guy, I like this guy, this Italian fellow. He likes to post his charts. He uses some bands, some EMAs, I think, or something, but I like how he wrote, "God bless X control." I took that as a compliment. So again, this guy, caught a move up, sharing this, people asking questions, just interacting. It's a really great environment. I want to touch on, the training education. I also provide that, that's free. You don't need to pay extra money. I produce content regularly, videos, etc. Go to the website, click on the training education page, go through this page step by step. There's a lot of information here. Watch the live trade videos, right? There's a lot of videos I've got, 80 plus videos. Okay, that's a great resource to learn from. There's also previous webinars, right? If you go to the page, go to videos, click on webinars, you'll see this is last year's webinar with NinjaTrader. So this is the 3rd webinar I've done with NinjaTrader. So that's, I've got also pullbacks webinar there. So it's just, all the information is on the website. What do some people have to say about, MboxWave? Because it's important. It's not just me talking, what do other people say? I got this email last week. And this guy, Joe, he said that he's been very happy with the results. Like I said, he said in the 3 months right here, in the 3 months since I started using your system, I've been able to earn 3 funded accounts. That's great. And what is he doing? What he's doing is he's doing what I show in the videos, the 10 plus conditions here. Checking off right here. All I had to do was create a checklist with 10 plus conditions. So he looks, that checklist that I had in the previous slide, you'll probably want to refer to that, write that down somewhere. The initial buy and selling, after no result, ease of movement, pullbacks. So, when you see those conditions, this guy says when he sees 7, he takes a trade. This guy in Twitter, I posted, he wrote that, he thinks I figured out how the market works. That's a huge compliment. Nobody figures out the market 100%, but, just in a way that it can be digested and analyzed, and this was really fills me up and, gives me a lot of satisfaction when other people gain benefit from my work. And this guy says, MBox is the best. It says it's not a get rich quick scheme. You have to devote time and learn. It's true. This is not a get rich quick scheme, but if you take the time to learn, it can be quite rewarding. So I want to talk about what is the grandfather package, because we have to wrap up here. What you're getting and what includes. It includes the trading room, the Discord trading room, all the indicators, including the latest X-Pace, X-Control, all the algorithmic buy-sell signals. You get the lifetime support, okay? And since I'm doing a special at the end of this presentation, I'm offering the MboxWave webinar special discount, good for 24 hours. You get the grandfather package plus the Discord trading room. Go to mboxwave.com/offer, okay? You go to the page, that's the deal. So if you're interested in MboxWave, feel free to take advantage of this offer, join the community, it's growing. I've got lots of plans for the future. I started this out many years ago, but with the MboxWave 3.0 release, I continue to do improvements and enhancements. I've got a lot of ideas still left for the future. So it's an exciting community to be a part of. So let's see if we still have a little time. I'll answer a few questions that I see here. What do we got here? I guess I'm getting swarmed with questions here. Got a lot from the data, where from, and monthly cost, please. Data. You know, if you get the NinjaTrader brokerage, data is included, so you would be pretty covered. Somebody else asking me, two other vendors forgotten my hard-earned cash. Wanted to get funding. Is your priority education or funding? Not sure how to answer that. I do education. There are a lot of people that get funded. I can't show today's charts. I know some people were asking about today's charts because the presentation I had to do beforehand. So no, but watch the live trade videos. You know, a lot of content there. Is NinjaTrader the best app to use MboxWave with? Well, I'll certainly say this, that most of the members, most of the MboxWave community uses NinjaTrader. So it's probably around, you know, 65%, 70%. So you'll be well supported. I think that's about it. If you have more questions, feel free to email me. I'll get to them. You know, if you want the, I'm gonna write into the box. That's the page to get the discount, mboxwave.com/offer. Somebody's asked, how many PCs can you two? You can use on multiple PCs. Either you update your machine ID, or if it's on the same network, you can use on multiple PCs. Do I have a trial period? No, I don't have the time to deal with trials because I'm flooded as it is. Can it be used on a Mac? It can be used with the Parallels virtual machine. It works on NT8. NT7, I don't update anymore. That's outdated. Anyway, that's it. I think we are running out of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It was a pleasure to speak today. And, you know, you can always reach out to me. And I look forward to hearing from you if you have questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you again to Mike for taking the time to share with us today. If you enjoyed today's session, we'll hope you will join us in future webinars. We would like to remind you that the information provided was that of MboxWave and not of NinjaTrader. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us here at NinjaTrader Ecosystem.